Hello, my name's Ralph and welcome back to the channel. It's my time, let's go. Today we're going to be working on our pitch black Evo motor, and I'm finally glad to get back at it. It's been a few months and I've been tied up with other things, but now is the time to get back at this motor. I actually had one of the commenters mention it, that they were looking at it, so it put a fire under me and made me think, well, it's time. And being so busy all the time, it's hard to get at your own projects, but now it's time for me to do it. So today we're going to start by putting in the oil pump, and I like to put that in first before I put the case halves together. It makes it a little bit easier than trying to reach in there. So let's go and get at it and get these things done. All right. Okay, so one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to make sure that the oil pump is good, that the body is good. And a way to do this is to put your gears in here. It's kind of hard because there's no pin to keep them in place. We're going to set them in like that. And what we want to do is take a ruler and put across these gears. And once we hold them solidly on these gears, we should be able to get a 3 thou feeler gauge in underneath those. And we can. They say 3 to 4 thousandths of an inch is a good fit for those. So we know our feed gears are good. Now we'll stick our return gears in and we'll do the same thing to check them out. Putting a straight edge and holding it firmly there and making sure that we can get 3 thou through those gears, through that space. So we know that those are sticking up where the way that they're supposed to be. Another fine point is many of these gears have a marking on them, and it's quite hard to see on a lot of it. But this one here has a small dot on it. And this one here as well has a small dot on it. Now these two dots should line up in the gears like that, and that will tell you that these gears are meshed properly. So check your gears out to see if they have a dot on them. If not, before you disassemble, put a mark on them so that you know which way they came in and which way they go out. So we have everything arranged where we want to have it. These are old keys, and we have our new ones here with all new keys. So you always put new keyways in when you're going to replace them. We have James gaskets here, so we won't need any kind of sealer of any kind. So we're going to go ahead and assemble. And what we're going to do first is I like to put the drive gear in here first. It's just a habit of mine, but I like to put those in before I put the case halves together. It's a little easier to get at, and the oil pump is already assembled. So the first thing we're going to do is take our shaft and put a little bit of oil on it. And you can see here that there's a single groove in this one, and there's 2 spots for a keyway in this one. And the single one is what we want to go into the case, because that's what our drive gear is going to go on. So we're going to put our drive gear in here. Like so. On the shaft. We're going to line that up with the keyway. So we line up the groove in the gear itself with the keyway shaft. And we make sure that the gear and the keyway are lined up so that the keyway can slide right up into the shaft in there. And our next step is to put our C-clip on there. Just have to back it off just a little ways. Don't spread it any further than you have to. And make sure that the open slots on the C-clip are around at least 90 degrees. Okay. So our C-clip is in there on the end of the shaft. That keeps it from falling out. Now this little seal has a small lip around it, and you can see it's got a two-piece in there, and the other side of it is perfectly flat. And we need this two-piece facing upwards towards the feed gears. We've put a little bit of oil on it to help it to go in. And now we're going to try to get it in there straight. There we go, and the oil seal is in there. You want to make sure that the lip is just down below the surface here. It just needs to be seated down in there that little ways so it's below the surface. That's what we want. We're just going to put a little bit of oil inside. And the thicker gears are what we want to go on the inside. One here, and what we want is those little dots that we talked about. We want them to match up here on the outside. This is what we're shooting for. So we'll start with this one. We'll put our little key in. Just lightly use a screwdriver here just to keep the ends down. And we know that our dot is on the outside, so we want this on the outside, which means our gear will go in this way. We're going to need our gasket on the back side, which we'll just slip a couple screws in here just to keep that in place. Go. Just wiggle them a little bit there so that they'll fit in together. There we are. Now those are in place. Alright, we just leave them there lightly, making sure that our gear spins nice and free there. Okay, now we'll try to get our key into its slot. There we go. Now we have our feed gears on the outside again. Little dot on the outside. So we're going to try to put that in there while keeping the little key in place. And there we go. That one's in place. Now what I'm going to do is take this big screwdriver. I just put it in through the top and just kind of wedge it so that this gear can't push through, so this shaft cannot push through there while we attempt to put the other clip in, because it's just a round clip like this. It has no eyes or anything, so it has to be tediously fit over top of that. We'll try it by starting one end into the clip body. Once we have one end locked in, in. Not quite. There we go. Now we're locked in. And we make sure that wherever the keyway shows up in there, wherever you can see the keyway, that it's covered by this clip. Now there's the keyway, and there's our clip end down here. So we're just going to push it around. Here we go. Now we can release this out of here. And we can see our little dot is here. We're going to put our little dot in there. There we go. The pup has to spin freely with your fingers. So getting the pump body on here so it'll spin freely is the biggest trick. If you don't and this binds up, it will break those keys off. It'll shear them off, although they look like they got quite a bit of meat on them, but they will shear off. Once that happens, you have total oil pump failure, and that's not a good thing. So we're going to start these longer ones in. Let's keep this in place. And we can slide that one on there. The shorter ones can go in here. The trick now is to just rotate the pump gear that's inside here while moving the body into the position where you find it's the easiest to spin. Then we just sort of slightly tighten them up a little bit in a crisscross pattern. See, now I'm tightened up there. They have to be torqued down evenly. The slightest bit of bind will cause them to bind up. So, just back these off a little bit. So we loosen off the top bolts and we just work on the body bolts here to make sure we can get things snug around so we're not getting binding up. I'm getting good there. Okay, let's try them. Try to torque them to 90 pounds here. Close. All right. Looking good there. There we go. So we've got it turning good in there now. So if you have a problem with it, binding up, set these ones first. Do these ones first, and then go up and do these. Loosen these off, move your pump around so that it's not binding up anywhere. Now I'm down there to 95 pounds, 100 pounds, and I can rotate the pump no problem. And once it gets lubed up and gets going, then it'll be even better. Have to make sure that we can turn this gear in here easily with no binding. See, I can move this with my finger very easily. So if you find it's binding up for you and you can't get the right place, loosen these two off and just work these cross back and forth up to the proper pounds, and then you'll get it. If you tighten these two up first, chances are it'll bind the pump body up. All right, that's feeling good there now. Now, as I said before, when I was inside here and I was trying to put my clip on the outside, all I did was take a big screwdriver here and I wedged it between that, right there, so that the shaft can't move outwards. And that allowed me to put the clip on the outside of it. So that's a good way to lock it up. All right, I'm feeling good about that now. Okay, we'll just put the little pieces in here now. Put our ball down. I've got a new spring for the check valve. A new O-ring on there. We won't tighten that one up because we'll be taking that out to prime the motor. Okay, now we need our plunger. This is the big plunger piece that goes in there. In. So that about wraps it up for today on the Jet Black Evo motor. We've got the oil pump installed, and you can see how easily it went. And if you just take your time, everything fits the way it should. So stick with us while we continue this series and get this Jet Black Evo motor up and running on my engine stand. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, ring the bell, do those things. It helps our channel to grow. See you on the next video.